This amazing story happened deep in the forests of Canada. James, the experienced forest ranger, was patrolling the remote woodland area. As usual, suddenly he heard an unusual noise, a strange echo resonating between the trees. The man stopped for a moment, his senses sharpened. The sound seemed like inhuman screams, filled with despair. Despite the alarms ringing in his head, his instincts pushed him to investigate the sounds. With every step he got closer, and finally, he was faced with a scene that exceeded all his expectations. In front of his eyes, in a small clearing, there was a bear hanging by its right front leg in a wild animal trap. Moreover, its head was tied with a rope, and its hind legs were entangled in barbed wire. With every movement, the bear let out an instinctive, painful groan. The ranger grabbed his rifle. Facing a bear was no joke, especially if the animal was injured. But this encounter was different. James felt that the bear was asking for help. The man shook off his initial anxiety, ignored the lingering fear, and cautiously approached the desperate bear. The man had to approach the trap to examine it. But as he got closer, the bear attacked him with a powerful swipe, a desperate attempt to defend itself, seeing him as yet another threat. At that moment, James did something remarkable. He threw down his hunting gear, the only means of defense he had, and placed it on the ground. By giving up his weapon, it was a promise that he didn't intend to cause harm. Indeed, the bear gradually began to calm down. Perhaps this miserable creature had encountered enough hunters in its life to understand that they are only dangerous when they carry things in their hands. And this person's hands were now empty. But that didn't change the fact that James was putting himself in great danger. Any sane person would refuse to approach this, and so, from a large and unpredictable predator, the god knelt beside the bear and tried to gain its trust, then approached and cut the rope that was around its neck. The bear remained surprisingly calm and showed no signs of threatening the man. Then James moved to the barbed wire. After a closer inspection, he discovered that the wire had started to dig into the bear's flesh. The animal's cries grew louder as James carefully and cautiously removed the wire. Finally, the bear was still trapped by its leg. If James solved this problem, the bear would be free and could easily attack him. But the man had no choice but to trust the animal. He gathered all his courage and freed the leg from the trap. The bear was released. The man did not expect what happened next. Instead of jumping up, the bear remained lying in the same place. When James took a step back, he felt deep sadness when he saw all the wounds. Its fur was covered with deep cuts. After a few minutes, the bear gathered all its strength and stood up. It stood with difficulty. Every step it took made it feel the pain it was suffering from. The bear ran for a few meters before it fell again. The man knelt beside the bear and spoke soothing words. James didn't want to leave the animal to face its fate alone, because sooner or later, poachers would find the bear and do unimaginable things to it. And that's only if nature didn't condemn it first. Without hesitation, James grabbed the phone, called the local wildlife clinic, and requested urgent help. The clinic quickly sent a team to his location. When the team arrived, they immediately sedated the bear and examined it carefully. The team determined that the bear had most likely been trapped in this painful way for several days, enduring hunger and pain. An infection had developed, and surgery was considered necessary to avoid further complications. Without immediate intervention, there was a high chance the bear would lose its leg. Working together, they carefully transported the bear to the transport vehicle and arrived at the clinic after 30 minutes. The veterinarians and wildlife experts worked together to provide the necessary treatment for the bear. The wounds were cleaned, antibiotics were administered, and the open wounds were stitched up with great precision to James's frustration. After the doctors finished their work, they revealed a disturbing truth. The bear was not an isolated case. In recent weeks, there had been several reports of other wild animals with similar injuries. The revelation that other animals had suffered the same fate angered James. In the following days, the bear remained under heavy sedation and strict observation at the clinic. While the animal gradually regained its strength, the hospital staff discussed the possibility of returning it to the wild, but James rejected this idea. It didn't make sense to release the bear when there was a group of people intending to harm it. The poor animal might end up getting caught in the trap again, and this time it might not be lucky enough to be discovered in time. The staff agreed, but they had no other choice. They didn't have the space or the resources to shelter the bear. For more than a few days, without hesitation, James started a race against time to find the culprit before the bear was released. With the evidence they had collected at the clinic, They went to the police along with the animal control department and began investigating the case. But that wasn't enough for James. He knew he had to take matters into his own hands. He installed surveillance cameras in the most popular hunting spots in the forest, but it was all in vain. Days passed, and James had no leads. The veterinarians were about to release the bear back into the wild soon, but on a fateful night, James was awakened by an alert from the wildlife camera. Adrenaline rushed through his body. He jumped up immediately and headed into the forest with a flashlight, his fingers trembling. James began tracking the footprints. Every small movement in the darkness of the night made his heart pound. Instead of running away immediately and disappearing among the trees, he stopped a few meters from the car and looked back one last time. It seemed as if he was thanking the people for their help. At that moment, James and the rest of the guards began to cry. The bear turned its gaze forward and finally disappeared among the thick trees.